Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Varle Simaneka Daniel, and I decided to make a video based on the Sabbath day, the day of rest, the seventh day of the week. And we're going to look at a few aspects in which we will try to identify the true Sabbath day. And the first one that we will use is the Bible itself. And then we will consider, secondly, the situation that encompasses the Easter weekend holiday. We will see how we can identify the Sabbath day according to that. And thirdly, we will look at languages. Languages themselves do verify the day that is the Sabbath day. And finally, the fourth aspect will be contrasting between 2 days which are popularly known as the Sabbath day, and we'll see how these 2 days are different according to how they are related to the Bible and which one should be kept. I hope you enjoy the video. Let's start. Hello there. Now then, we start looking at the Bible perspective of the Sabbath. We go to the book of Genesis because then it records God in creation. And you will see an outline that is given to us about the days which God had numbered. Now we go to Genesis. We look at Genesis chapter 1 verse 5. And then I am going to read it from the King James version of the Bible. Now the King James says, "And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day." Now we jump to verse 8. Verse 8 says, "And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day." We go to verse 13. Verse 13 says, "And the evening and the morning were the third day." We go to verse 19. Verse 19 says, "And the evening and the morning were the fourth day." We go to verse 23. Verse 23 says, "And the evening and the morning were the fifth day." Now we jump to verse 31. And verse 31 says, "And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day." And from here we discover that God had numbered the days according to evening and morning. Now the question arises, should we then just celebrate the Sabbath from evening to morning? And let's go to Luke chapter 23. It gives us a more clearer, you see, the whole thing is based upon a day. A day is 24 hours, and thus it would not be called a Sabbath day, it would just be called a Sabbath half a day. But now, since it's a Sabbath day, it has to take 24 hours. And according to Leviticus chapter 23, we will get a more clearer understanding on how long Sabbath should be celebrated. Leviticus chapter 23, and we're going to read verse 32. "It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even." Now listen to this. "From even unto even ye shall celebrate your Sabbath." That just means from evening unto evening you should celebrate your Sabbath. And I guess that's what we're going to read from the Old Testament. There's a command, one of the commandments actually. Exodus chapter 20, if we go there. Exodus chapter 20 tells us that we're supposed to keep the Sabbath day holy. As a Christian, this is your duty towards God, because we're supposed to keep his commandments. Exodus chapter 20 verse 8. "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor the stranger which is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the 7th day and hallowed it." Do you hear the situation? Thus, you can't claim another day to be your Sabbath day, because fine, it would be your Sabbath day, but worship is remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, and it is related to God. 6 days the Lord created and did all his work. Yeah, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested on the 7th day. He rested on the 7th day and blessed the 7th day, the Sabbath day, and hallowed it. Thus, if you keep a certain day that is not the Sabbath day, the real question is, was it blessed by God? You can go, no problem. But the real question is, if you are abiding to God's law, you should do what he says, and that's he himself sanctified one specific day, and unless you call him to sanctify another, I believe you should go to the day that he had sanctified. Now then, we go to Luke chapter 23. Luke chapter 23 also gives us insight on the Sabbath according to the death of Jesus Christ. We will now push in towards the second aspect of identifying the Sabbath, which is Easter. Now, the Easter holiday is a very, very nice holiday. Now, I'm going to pause this video quickly and use my computer. I'll constantly continue the video through the webcam, but I want you to get clear definitions on this whole Easter thing. Okay. Now then, we're going to go to some online sources and try to find the definition for the days that are related with Easter. Okay, just give me a while. My computer is very slow. But yes, there we go. Well, let's just wait for it to open Google by itself. Hopefully. And there we go. Google.com. Okay, the page has loaded. Good. Now then, what's happening? Okay, now then. Define Easter. Okay, not Sunday. Let's go with Good Friday. Let's go in order. Good Friday. Good. There we go. And here we go. Good Friday, the day which Jesus died, it's the Friday before Easter Sunday, on which the crucifixion of Jesus is commemorated in the Christian church. It is a tradition. Yeah, it is traditionally a day of fasting and penance. Good day. Now we go and look up the word Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday. Okay. Let's just wait for Easter Sunday. Okay, the first I looked through this quite before, and then some definitions are quite vague. But there's a definition here under. Where is it? Here. Here it is. Easter Sunday is one of the most festive among the Christians worldwide. It commemorates Jesus Christ's resurrection from death, and it is written in the Christian Bible. The Easter Sunday commemorates Jesus' resurrection from death, and so forth and so forth. That's quite repetitive. But we get the definitions of Easter Sunday and Good Friday. But then you ask the question, why is there Easter Monday? You'd be surprised why Easter Monday exists actually. Let's look for it. Easter Monday. Look at the definition of Easter Monday. This is what it's called. The day after Easter Sunday. It is a public holiday in several countries, and it really doesn't make sense. I myself do not believe in Easter. I'm Seventh-day Adventist, and it's basically because of this whole situation happening here, because Easter is not actually related. Okay, it could be or might be, but genuinely, I looked it up and it has more links to the whole Easter bunny, which is a whole pagan holiday, I believe. Because at the end of the day, the goddess, which is the goddess Freya, was then commemorated during this period, in which she transformed into a bunny, and then she was handing out Easter eggs as a sign of fertility, because she was known as the god of fertility. And thus the whole situation surrounding Easter does not make a lot of sense. But then the good thing is, it is commemorated at the right time. And according to what we are doing, the study on the Sabbath, we learn that Easter also identifies the Sabbath itself. Thank you for watching. Let's go back to the other side. Now that we're back from the whole definitions of Easter, we understand that Easter Friday is the day on which Jesus had died. Now we go to Luke chapter 23. Luke chapter 23 accounts for the death of Jesus Christ, and we will look at verse 44. verse 44. It reads as follows. It was about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. When Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thine hands I commit my spirit. Having said thus, he gave up the ghost. That was Jesus' death on the cross. And you have to realize that it was from the 6th hour to the 9th hour that Jesus was upon the cross. And now the Jews do not count the hours according to us. When it says 6th hour, it does not mean 6 o'clock, and the 9th hour, it does not mean 9 o'clock. They count the days according to how they count the day according to the time the sun rises, and thus at the end of the day you would find that the sun rises at 6 o'clock, so you do not count 6 o'clock. I mean, you don't say 0, 1, 2, just start at 1. So it rises at 6, and then you start counting 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you hear the situation. The 6th hour is 12 o'clock, and then you continue till the 9th hour. 6, 7, okay, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 6th hour, 1, 2, 3, until the 9th hour, which is 3 o'clock. You would actually find this in the Good News translation of the Bible. They do not use the words 6th hour or 9th hour. They just say 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Now, after Jesus has died, we now skip a few verses. We're still in Luke chapter 23. We go to verse 54. Verse 54 says, and it was the preparation day, the day in which Jesus died. It was the preparation day, and the Sabbath drew on. Now think with me. The Sabbath is drawing on, and this is the 9th hour of the day. It is very far from 12 o'clock. So we read from Genesis that the Sabbath starts at evening. Do you understand? So then 3 o'clock is very close to evening, and thus the Bible would say it was the preparation day, the day that Jesus had died, and the Sabbath drew on. And here is truth, in that, you see, we got from Genesis that it starts at evening. So thus the Bible says it was 3 o'clock and the Sabbath was coming. It was preparation day and the Sabbath was drawing on. And here is truth. You go to the whole Easter thing, as we previously explained, and you find that is it Good Friday? Good Friday. It's good because Jesus died for us on the cross, I believe, I guess. But here's the thing. I personally do not believe in Easter, but there's slight truth according to the days in which they celebrated, in that, you see, he dies on Friday according to the Bible. Now the Sabbath drew on. What is the day after Friday? That's the first question, and we all know that it's Saturday. Now, at the end of the day, you fail to realize this, but listen, we continue to read Luke chapter. Forgive me, the memory had run out in the memory card, but we'll still continue. We were in Luke chapter 24 actually, and now we're going to continue in verse 2. Verse 2, and they had found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre, and they entered in and found not the body of Jesus, because he had risen, of course. Now you see that according to the Easter weekend, he dies on Friday, he's in the tomb on Saturday, which is the Sabbath day, and then he raises early in the morning on the first day, which is Sunday. And I think we can conclude from that the Sabbath is Saturday, just using the first two, the Bible and Easter. I'm going to cut and quickly go to a online source where we're going to look at the word Saturday itself. The word Saturday in different languages. We're going to look at the word Saturday in different languages and see how we can identify the Sabbath day. Okay then, now we're going to look at a few languages. We're going to go to Google again. It's quite reliable sometimes, and we're going to look at a few things, a few languages, which then in the languages, the word Saturday, the day, is translated into different languages, and we're going to look at this online source and see how the word Saturday is translated in different languages. Okay then. Saturday. I had looked it up, so I'm hoping my cache will. Yes, there we go. I'm going to go for the first option, which is the name of Saturday. Okay, as you can see, I have been to this website before, and the website belongs to the United Church of God. I'm Seventh-day Adventist. I don't think I belong to the United Church of God, but I like the research that they have done. And you see here, the topic is actually quite nice. Names for Saturday in many languages which prove it is the true Sabbath, which is quite interesting. Now watch carefully. Oh, sorry. Scroll down. Wait, why is my... okay. There we go. Now, here are the names of Saturday. You get it in Arabic, you get it in Armenian, you get it in Bosman, and so many other languages. I speak Portuguese, so in Portuguese it would be Sábado. Yeah, and you can see how the word Saturday in many different languages is related to Sabbath, because see, it's Sábado, Sobata, like in my language is Sabata, and in Czechs it's Sobata, and in so many languages it's so related to Sabbath. And I guess, yeah, we get our third aspect, which proves the actual day that the Saturday is. Anyways, back to the other side. Now then, welcome back. And finally, in conclusion, we look at the two that exist. We know of the Sabbath that is on Sunday, and we know of the Sabbath that is on Saturday. And we genuinely look at the two. You weigh the odds between the two, and you find that, okay, fine, the Sabbath, which is on Saturday, starts on Friday sunset and ends on Saturday sunset. But the one that's the Sunday Sabbath starts at 12 o'clock on Sunday and ends at 12 o'clock again. It starts 12 o'clock and ends, I guess, at 11:59. Now, you look at the two and you compare them, you contrast them between the ones which are in the Bible. And the Bible clearly defines that the Sabbath is from evening to evening. Either way, you should clearly recognize that the Sabbath cannot be from 12 to 12, because the Bible does not identify it that way. Many questions have arisen on the whole, has the Sabbath been done away with? But I think the aspect upon which we had tackled the whole, Jesus dies and the women prepare the spices, and then we find out that they still rested according to the Sabbath commandment. That should prove to us that the Sabbath was still lawful even after the death of Jesus Christ. But I will make a separate video in which I will tackle certain verses that seem to be contrary to keeping the Sabbath, and we will see what those verses actually mean in their context in which they were written. But all in all, the choice is set before us, whether we will keep the Sabbath which the Lord had commanded. Because remember, the 10 commandments still abide. Jesus in Matthew chapter 5 verse 17, he says, "Think not that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I came not to destroy but to fulfill." And the word fulfill does not mean to make an end, but to show that they can be proven. I like the good news because it simplifies things in a way that you will understand properly. But there are some problems with it because it has a few verses missing. But all in all, we need to understand that the 10 commandments are still abiding today. And if we want to keep the commandments, we should not cherry pick the 9 and decide to skip one. Because at the end of the day, the Bible says, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy, commandment number 4. And if we stick to the commandment that says, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, neither shalt thou covet, and thou shalt have no other God, thou shalt not make any graven images before me. I'm just saying them in a random order. And thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain, and honor thy mother and father. We cannot take the 9 and decide to skip one. We have to take everything in a package, because at the end of the day, the Bible in James chapter 2 verse 10 says, the one who breaks one commandment breaks them all. So let us not be guilty of breaking all the commandments. Let us rather keep the Sabbath holy and do what is pleasing in God's sight. My name is Varle Semaneka Daniel. I am a Seventh-day Adventist member. My membership is in Grootfontein, but currently I attend in Windhoek Central SDA Church. You can get my information. You can email me. I'll put my email down in the description. I will also put the links in which I have looked up the whole languages and the whole Easter thing in the description. You can find them there, and